This is Talk the Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Thank you very much, dear, for joining me. Tom Slater's still with us. And now we're going to talk about, well, you know, there's lovely days that schools do when they're not having a Pride March, as most schools seem to spend most of their time doing, or celebrating various different festivals from around the world. Often they now have cultural diversity days. Well, that's exactly what a school in Warwickshire did, the Bilton School in Rugby, last week. They invited all pupils to come in to celebrate their cultural diversity, maybe wear national dress, give a little talk about their cultural identity. Well, one girl did just that, but she was sent home from school because it wasn't the correct cultural identity. Well, let's talk to her father, Stuart Field, who joins us now. A very good afternoon to you, Stuart.
Hi there.
Thank you very much, dear, for joining us. Now, you're the dad of Courtney Wright. She's just 12 years old. She's at the school, and she was told, you know, basically, you know, like all the other kids, come in, you know, represent your culture. What did Courtney do?
So she was really excited. She came home a few days before with a letter saying that she was going to take part in a cultural diversity day at school. She wanted to pick her own dress. She's quite an independent young girl. She's very intelligent, and she's
a straight A pupil, isn't she?
She is. She's always been, you know, top of the class. She's such a really good kid. She made her own mind up that she wanted to take part. She decided on her own dress, and she also wanted to sort of go online and create her own speech. She did all that. We had to sign a letter to the school to say that she was going to take part. She went into school, and I had a phone call an hour from work from Courtney saying that she wasn't allowed into school, that had been isolated and sat out.
And what was she wearing that meant that she was not allowed into school?
He was wearing you would say a typical Jerry Halliwell sort of stroke Spice Girls Union Jack dress with a bowl hat, yeah. Yeah, I mean, outrageous. I mean, an outrageous outfit. I mean, she's basically dressed as a Ku Klux Klan, isn't she? I don't know if we've got a picture of Courtney, which with our colleagues at The Sun have got, of her wearing the outfit she wanted to wear. I think we've also got a picture of me wearing Courtney looks much better than I do, by the way, wearing my Union Jack dress in Parliament Square on the night we left the European Union, which I delight in putting out every year on anniversaries, because people seem to be remarkably bothered by people celebrating our national flag. I would have thought that on a day celebrating cultural diversity, one of the cultures one would definitely want to celebrate in a diverse country would be British culture, which is the dominant culture of our land. So what did the teachers say was wrong about her outfit? They didn't really give me an answer as to what was wrong with the outfit. They pretty much sort of diverted me straight to we need to speak to somebody else who's better qualified to deal with this, when I was answering the question, which is give me a reason why my daughter's sat in isolation on a cultural diversity day wearing a Union Jack dress. I couldn't get my head around the reasoning behind it. I don't think the school were prepared for it. I pretty much took her out of there pretty quick and said, you know, this is to be continued, and we will take it further. But
the thing is, she had prepared a little speech. I mean, and other kids presumably there were. I mean, is it a particularly culturally diverse school? Lots of kids hailing from different nationalities.
Yeah.
So lots of different kids dressed up in what sort of other outfits were there, as far as you're aware?
As far as I know, I only know of a few that got sort of refused entry. So I know there was a little boy. The parents aren't too keen on sharing it, but they've asked me. They've said that I can share that they're from a farming background. Yeah. He was dressed in a check shirt. He had a flat cap. He was dressed as a farmer with his farming background, and he was refused entry at the gates. The children with.
I mean, it's just mind-blowing. It was just, again, so British farming, so 51% of the food we eat in this country comes from that. It's part of long-standing British culture, part of but people, if people fly over our country, you know you're over Britain straight away, don't you? Because you can see the way the countryside is there, the hedgerows. You just know you're over British countryside. It's a big part of our national heritage. But that apparently was offensive.
You could pretty much identify you were talking to a British farmer anywhere in the world by what they were wearing. It's quite an iconic, the check shirt and the flat cap.
He was dressed as Caleb from Clarkson's Farm, wasn't he? But it's interesting, your daughter, what she'd planned to read. Now, some people, the usual suspects, probably everyone at the BBC would go, oh, well, what was Courtney Wright going to say? Wearing her Union flag hat and her Union flag dress, what was she going to say? Now, she'd actually prepared a speech, and it was all about celebrating drinking tea, eating fish and chips, Shakespeare, the royals. She was talking about a load of the things that people talk about as, the most quintessentially British things. It was a joyful, positive speech about nice things in this country. And there's nothing remotely controversial or supposedly offensive in that.
No, it was a really good speech. And I think the sad thing about this was I don't think the teachers were interested in the speech or her going in. She was pretty much refused. I think if they'd have actually read the speech, it may have been different, but she was just told no right from the beginning. It wasn't anything to do with British culture. It was made clear that wasn't, it wasn't going to happen that day. It was about other cultures. And I do believe one of the teachers even turned around to her and said, you're British, you don't get to celebrate being British because you get to celebrate that every day by eating fish and chips and wearing tracksuits, apparently. So,
wow. Wow, yeah. Fairly disparaging, but also, by the way, untrue, because people are constantly told they're not allowed to. I mean, it is extraordinary. The head, Jane Delves, of the school, this is Bilton School in Rugby in Warwickshire, she'd written to head parents saying, I have to read it in this voice because this is the kind of voice I can hear it in. This special day is dedicated to recognising and celebrating the rich cultural diversity within our school community. Students across all year groups will have the opportunity to take part in a variety of cultural activities. I mean, now they have written to you to say they deeply regret the distress this has caused. They've offered their sincere and unreserved apologies. And they say they reflect how this could have been handled better. They're committed to learning from this experience and ensuring every student feels recognised and supported. How much do you trust that apology, Stuart?
Yes, it's for me, Courtney got an apology. She's a child. She would be happy with it. For me as a parent, I'd like to know how far this actually goes around other schools across the country, because people have reached out to me from all over the country since this has gone. It's gone a bit crazy over the past few days, and the messages I've received from people who have been going through the same thing, or their children have been treated in a similar way in schools, and it's shocking. It's not a one-off thing. This is happening at schools all over the country. British children are being numbed to the feeling proud of being part of their culture, and
that's the thing. We're told we should celebrate all cultures as being equal, which is not something I believe. Actually, I believe our culture is one of the most superior cultures. That's why people want to come to us, and we're not all moving to some of the countries that some of the diverse children at that school's parents or grandparents or themselves will have come from. They're choosing to come here. There's a reason why, but also this idea that you can celebrate every other culture, everything else, or every other tradition or religious festival, but not British ones. So it's when, bonfire night, they say, let's celebrate a religious festival that happens to be at the same time, or any of our major events. There's an element where a lot of people in teaching they're a bit embarrassed, a bit ashamed of British identity, British traditions, British history and British culture. Do you think that's the same? Oh, have we frozen? I think we may have frozen. Might have lost the Stuart Field. Have we got? Oh, let's try it. See if we can get him back. But while we try and get Stuart Field back, he's a working man. He's in his vehicle. He's a marine engineer. Tom Slater, listening to that, I mean, it is just extraordinary, isn't it, that this has happened? And by all accounts, this isn't the only time this has happened at the only school.
No, absolutely. And it's what I find so striking about this is the sort of cognitive dissonance, isn't it? The idea that you should come in and celebrate your respective cultures, but not that one.
Yeah.
And the one that's being censored, the one that's being problematised, the one that's being treated as a bit weird and alien and whatever, is actually supposed to be the overriding national culture, the thing that's supposed to bring us together, that's would enable people from whatever migratory background, or whether they're English or Scottish or Welsh or whatever, to have something that we can come together towards. Why is it that's demonised? Surely that's the thing that should be more united.
I just find it extraordinary how many people, and especially again, they're in teaching, they're in the BBC, they're embarrassed, ashamed, horrified of British culture, tradition, identity, and they perceive it to be racist, they perceive it to be bigoted, to be xenophobic. And again, if our country was all those things, lots of people from many other different backgrounds and races and cultures wouldn't come to live here.
And it's
simple as that.
Also, in a country in which you do have people from many backgrounds, an overriding national identity is more important, not less. It's actually the space in which you can kind of come together, work out some shared cultural things, philosophical things, historical things that you can roughly unite around. As soon as you start treating that as jingoistic, nationalistic, you're going to end up with a more divided society, not a more united.
But it's interesting, isn't it, that when we talk about, nationalistic, as if that's a bad thing. I think we have just managed to get Stuart Field back up. Stuart, I'm glad we've got you back up. We've only got about another minute left, but I was just asking you, whether, why you think so many people are so ashamed and embarrassed of British, identity, British tradition, British history.
I have no idea that they shouldn't be. For me, there's definitely a lefty woke agenda somewhere in the schooling system where they are pushing children to discouraging them from being proud of being British. It's pushed to one side. It's hidden. People are being shamed for flying the national flag of the country. There's something there. Something's not right with the system.
Oh, we're losing again. Stuart, we persevered. We got you back again. Thank you so much for talking to us. I know you're a busy man. You see you, at work there. He's the father of Courtney Wright, the 12-year-old who was basically, banned from the classroom for wearing her national flag as a dress to represent cultural diversity. Absolutely extraordinary story, it really is.